Everyone, and welcome back to the Osteophysio YouTube channel. For today's video, for continuing with Why Am I Getting Pain series, we're going to be looking at thumb pain. For today, we are going to be breaking down the most common conditions that we see in clinic that trigger pain and soreness around our thumb. It is actually incredibly common, particularly people in office-based jobs, to have a lot of tightness around the thumb, but also obviously into the wrist and the fingers. So one of the most common causes that we see in clinic is around this idea of a repetitive strain injury. So if people, particularly on the mouse hand, are using the thumb where it's fixed in a position, what happens is your thenar eminence, which is the padding around this part of the thumb, becomes really tight. So what people can start to feel is little trigger points, little nodules of tightness around this thumb area. So what happens is that you'll be fine using it during the day, but after a while, normally as we get to the end of the day or the evening, it starts to become really tight and really fatigued. So you feel like you want to massage into the thumb. So what we would look at is we would palpate around this area, we would move all the really intricate carpal bones, all the bones that are forming the wrist and obviously up into the thumb, and just make sure there's no other complications. And then we would work to release all of that tension, so getting you to regularly stretch through the thumb day to day. We've done a video on this, so I will tag that below on how to relieve around this thumb area and reduce that stiffness. Second really common trigger of pain might be wear and tear into the thumb joint. So lots of different joints as we move down towards the end of the thumb. So what you can present with if it's been pain or we've had trauma into this area before, for example, if we've fallen and we've aggravated the thumb, or we've done anything repetitively over time, or we've gripped in our past history, what you can start to get is stiffness and localized soreness. And what happens is it follows around the joint line. So most people can point to where they feel that stiffness and soreness. We're thinking here primarily of osteoarthritis, so wear and tear into the joints, so stiffness, restriction and pain. People who have a history of rheumatoid arthritis might get pain, swelling and soreness around this area, but slightly different in presentation. So of course we would be looking for this, we'd be asking this in someone's past history, but it's normally quite a clear onset of either repetitive patterns over time or trauma into the thumb that's causing that restriction, and it's normally accompanied with potentially soreness or stiffness into the fingers as well. We would aim to release any of the muscles around this area, so thenar eminence, hypothenar eminence up into the forearm, and we would aim to achieve better movement and traction to gap the joint surfaces around the thumb. Another really common condition that we see as well if people are presenting with thumb pain is something called Dequervain's Tenosynovitis, and we have done a specific video on this in terms of management and how it presents, but the idea is two main tendons that are coming down into the thumb to extend it back and abduct have become inflamed. So within their container, within their sheath, they have inflamed, they've enlarged, and what happens is when you're using the thumb, you get real sharpness forming down into the thumb and becomes incredibly tender. We would look for Finkelstein's test where we're stretching into those tendons to see if that reproduces the pain. Anybody with quite a manual job, so anything where you're kind of twisting or gripping or pulling during the day, can cause these tendons to inflame or become very sore and tender, which can give localized pain definitely up around this thumb here. Our treatment would try and release some of that tightness, get you moving, get you stretching around the area to reduce the soreness that has formed, and of course following that up into the forearm to make sure there's no involvement with any of the other tendons higher that might be forcing you to put more pressure into the thumb and the hand. Finally, we want to address the radial nerve, so one of our peripheral nerves that exits out of the neck, goes down the back of the arm, around the forearm, and then down towards the hand. So the reason why this is relevant if we're thinking of thumb pain, so when a nerve gets compressed or gets damaged, it can give motor symptoms, so weakness, but can also give sensory symptoms, so it can give a patch or possibly numbness or tingling or altered sensation. So what can happen as the nerve passes down, lots of different sites where it can get compressed. One of the common areas where we might see a little bit of numbness and soreness might be around the thumb here, or up the back of the arm. So they might be complaining or presenting with soreness around the thumb that actually when you test and palpate around this area, absolutely fine. There doesn't appear to be any anatomical damage or injury, but actually when you start to test the upper nerves and palpate the key compression sites of the radial nerve, this might trigger or intensify the pain down into the thumb. So this is something that obviously as a musculoskeletal expert, we would screen for.